Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well today. Thanks for hanging out with me, because what's happening right now between Governor Gavin Newsom and some of California's biggest universities is wild, complicated, and honestly kind of historic. And I want to break it down in a way that makes sense, because the ripple effects could hit students, professors, entire campuses, and maybe even spark a national trend. So, here's the gist. Governor Newsom has made a huge threat. He's saying that if any California college or university signs onto a new proposal that's being pushed by former President Donald Trump's administration, called the Compact for Academic Excellence in Higher Education, the state will instantly cut off their funding. And this isn't small money, we're talking billions. Universities would lose things like Cal Grants, which thousands of students depend on to pay tuition. So why is Newsom drawing such a hard line? What's in this compact that's gotten him so riled up? Basically, the Trump administration reached out to 9 major universities across the country. And yes, at least one California school is on that list, USC. The compact says, we'll give you favorable access to federal grants and money, but only if you agree to do some pretty major changes on campus. Some of these changes include eliminating or reshaping departments that are viewed as hostile to conservative viewpoints. They want colleges to freeze tuition for 5 years, stop using race or sex in admissions, or limit international undergrad students to 15% overall, with no more than 5% from a single country, and adopt very specific, government-defined policies about gender. Imagine being a college administrator and getting told to redo your curriculum, your hiring, your student body makeup, even your bathrooms, all in exchange for promised federal support. Here's the question: is that federal support a lifeline or a leash? Newsom sees it as a leash. He called the compact a hostile takeover of universities and said, in all caps, that California will not bankroll schools that sell out their students, professors, and researchers. And he's not bluffing. His threat includes cutting off Cal Grants for students at any school that signs on. That would be devastating for a ton of families. Now, imagine you're USC, or any of the schools approached. On one hand, signing the compact could mean more money from the federal government, priority access to grants, and maybe even political favor. But on the other hand, you could lose state funding overnight and alienate students, faculty, and donors. Would you even consider signing something like this? Or would you view it as a direct attack on your independence? Another question to think about: should governments, state or federal, be able to decide what ideas are acceptable on college campuses? And what happens if schools start following political agendas just to secure money? Academic freedom has always been one of the biggest values in higher education. The whole idea is that campuses are supposed to explore all perspectives, challenge students, support research, and let experts, not politicians, make decisions about curriculum and admissions. So, a lot of professors and education groups are saying this compact crosses a line. But the Trump administration is framing the compact differently. They're saying it's about restoring fairness, protecting conservative ideas, stopping indoctrination, and making colleges more affordable and accountable. So it really boils down to a war over who gets to shape the future of higher education, politicians or the universities themselves. The legal side of this could get messy too. There are questions about whether forcing schools to change curriculum or hiring practices in exchange for money is even constitutional. And if a school signs the compact and then loses state funding because of it, you can bet lawsuits will fly in every direction. Let's talk about students for a second. If your school lost Cal Grants, would you have to drop out? Take on more loans? Transfer? And if international enrollment got slashed, what would that do to campus life or tuition revenue? Schools like USC have way more than 15% international students, so complying would mean turning away thousands of applicants or forcing out future ones. And what about tuition freezes? On the surface, that sounds great, right? But if the school can't raise tuition and also loses money elsewhere, would the quality of education suffer? Would they cut programs, staff, or research? This is why some people are calling this a lose-lose situation. Colleges have to weigh 2 big risks: angering the federal government and missing out on funding opportunities, or defying the state and losing grants that support real students right now. Something else to watch is how other states might react. Could we see Republican governors pushing schools to sign on and Democratic governors threatening consequences if they do? And what happens if universities in different states choose opposite sides? Could this split higher education into ideological camps? Here's a question I keep coming back to. Should funding for education ever come with political strings attached? And if it does, who ultimately pays the price, the schools or the students? Nobody's made a final call yet, but USC is really in the spotlight right now. They haven't said what they'll do, and honestly, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Sign the compact and lose state support, or refuse and risk falling out of favor with the federal government. So where is this heading? We might see schools take a stand and refuse to sign, hoping the compact fizzles out. Or we might see one brave or desperate university sign just to test the waters. Either way, the fallout could shape how colleges operate for years. If you were running one of these universities, what would you do? Take the deal and change everything from admissions to gender policies? Or reject it and hope students, donors, and lawmakers back you up? This whole thing brings up bigger questions too. Who gets to decide what's acceptable discourse on campus? Is limiting certain departments or topics protecting students or censoring them? And does banning consideration of things like race or gender level the playing field, or ignore realities that still exist? There's no easy answer here. But one thing is clear, this isn't just about politics. It's about identity, power, money, and the future of education in America. All right, I'd love to know what you think. Do you support Newsom's threat to cut funding? Should universities ever sign something like this? And if they do, is that a betrayal of academic freedom or a necessary move for survival? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Seriously, I'm curious how you see it. And if you enjoyed this breakdown or learned something new, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Share this with a friend who follows education or politics, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you in the next.